beginning another unit, and as we dive through this course, you know we've just completed Unit 2. And in Unit 2, you work through designing a church staff plan. Well, now that you have your plan, what we now shift to is 7 sessions that are going to help us walk through the unique components of actually enlisting and orienting people to be a part of that plan. So what we start with is, what is the procedure then for enlisting someone, for hiring someone, whether they're full-time, part-time, or volunteer? What does it look like to formally reach out and bring them into the organization in an official capacity? Then we look at how we have different sources of prospective staff people. So, take for instance, it's your worship guide. It's a PowerPoint announcement saying we need more help in children's ministry. Is that your source? Just an all call, anybody willing, just let somebody know that we need you. I don't like all call anybody, because you get people coming to you that are not really suited or ideal, and it just becomes awkward to help walk them through why I said I needed anyone and now you're not anyone. So it just gets to be complicated if you and I do that. So I would just help you consider some things about sources. So I keep an ongoing list of potential people that I believe would be good in an area. As you're observing them, I encourage all staff members to do this, all ministerial staff that are responsible for an age group ministry or another area of ministry in the church, to keep an ongoing list of potential people they've observed, people that they see interacting with people in the church, that they just think that person has potential. Also, I would consider, if you're looking at formally hiring somebody, there are many places in Southern Baptist life for you to get information about potential ministers. Take, for instance, here at New Orleans Baptist Theological Seminary, our Office of Alumni and Church Minister Relations will do a resume service for you. Some people get overwhelmed, though, when they receive a bundle of 30, 40, 50, 100 resumes for one position of youth minister or pastor, etc. Some people even use staffing agencies. There are some ministerial staffing agencies that are now out there that some people are using to help them find candidates to be on their church staff, that kind of do the background check, the eliminating, the weeding out, if you will, and getting you down to just a few candidates that are suited uniquely for your specific context of ministry. Regardless, you're going to have to figure out what the sources are, whether it's your associational office, your state convention, at another institution like this seminary, that help you find prospective staff members. You don't really take out an ad in the paper or list your position on Facebook. So I would encourage you to start thinking about where are the perspectives, but it's also important within the church to start looking at, how do we bring someone in as a volunteer, as a lay leader for a specific area of ministry. And so I would just encourage you to do that. And also I would encourage you to then look at a ministerial code of ethics. We find some churches that have become headlines for misconduct as a church, or a minister on staff, or a volunteer in the church. And so we do many things in the church with ministry and with minors, and it's very important that we have a ministerial code of ethics. We want to be sure that that code of ethics talks about their calling. We want to be sure that that ministerial code of ethics talks about any social ills that we don't agree with. Adultery, for one. Alcohol, another. And so if they open up their home for a youth event, we don't get there and a ministerial code of ethics is being broken. And church discipline is not really an area that we practice as a denomination well. And so I would just encourage you, for your church, if you're going to go to the trouble of writing a ministerial code of ethics, you got to be willing to enforce a ministerial code of ethics. And so as we walk through this course, it's going to be important for the senior pastor to your volunteers that you have a ministerial code of ethics for the different areas of the church, and you're willing to actually walk through those. This code of ethics is one thing that you can use to then do an interview and selection process for everyone. If you do an all-call advertising the church worship guide, I would encourage you, we are now interviewing potential children's workers. And then everyone comes through a process of filling out an application, agreeing to do a background check, and then you meet with everyone individually, one-on-one. You might do something like a strengths finder. You might do something like a spiritual gift inventory, and you take these. Okay, based on your leadership potential, based on your spiritual giftedness, we see you being able to work in an area of ministry as parking lot attendant or usher. It may not be that you've, after interviewing them, feel comfortable with them being in children's ministry. Or if you feel comfortable with them being in children's ministry, you don't think they're ready for leading out in an area of ministry, like being over a whole age group for Sunday school or small group or Wednesday night. But you do feel comfortable with them helping. And so they're an assistant or an aide or some area of responsibility that can help them be nurtured and grow. So that's where we come to that interview and selection, how we just walk with someone. For those of us that have served on multiple church staffs, we know the interview and selection process when you're formally going through. You walk through with a resume, and then you have an initial conversation with somebody, and usually then you have a meeting with that person, and then you probably meet with their family, and you go through a detailed process all the way down to the church affirming through some type of formal vote that you endorse this person to be on your full-time ministerial staff. Every church is unique. Not everyone follows the same type process. But if you are a minister and just have concerns about how that process works, I'd be happy to talk with you. You can call me or email me in my office, and we'll walk through that interview and selection for formal paid positions. You're also, though, for your supporting positions, are usually going to hire within your community. It's important when you start thinking about the interview and selection of, is there any nepotism? Do they have any family members in your church body? If you're hiring an administrative assistant, a custodian, a supporting staff position in your local area, sometimes people have family members that are connected, and some churches have nepotism clauses because they don't want there to be a conflict of interest, or if there's a problem with that church staff member, then you lose several families in your church over the situation. So I would encourage you to start thinking about that interview and selection process as well with your supporting staff, and we'll be unpacking some of those. But regardless, if you're a formal ministerial staff, a supporting staff role, or a volunteer minister, or a volunteer in some other ministry area, the one thing that we need to start considering, I think, to a higher degree is how we orientate them for their new role. How do we help a minister move into our community, get to know our community, and get to know the church and its DNA and its culture, its ethos, so we can truly engage and do well in ministry there? How do we help the administrative assistant, the custodian, the kitchen staff, the paid preschool worker, our media guy? How do we help those people also get orientated to their roles but while we may do some of those well, especially with a minister, we usually don't do well at getting new people oriented when they agree to volunteer. We're so happy they're willing to serve in children's ministry, we forget to orientate them to even how Sunday morning works, that we need them there 15 minutes early so parents can start dropping off their children. Or we don't let them know about our pickup policy of who can pick up a kid, or we forget to walk them through how to deal with the curriculum that we expect them to follow. And so that's where some formal orientation of what we expect in any area of ministry, whether it's a child, a youth, or an adult ministry, we need to be sure they understand with a praise team, worship ministry, missions, any area of the church that we have people serving. It would be important that we also orientate them to what that is. Then, once we know that everyone in our organization should be going through orientation to know how to do what we expect, then it's easy for you and I to come back to that person and do a quarterly evaluation, a biannual evaluation, or an annual evaluation, and just walk through with them. Hey, Joe, this is where you're doing well. Hey, this is some areas to where I think you could improve. Sandy, I think you're doing really good in these areas. There's a few areas, though, we would like to even enhance this year. Hey, going into this year, we're going to focus on teaching at a higher level. So, hey, we're going to focus on engagement with our people. So if you could reach out to those that have not been attending or used to be a part of your ministry that you're not seeing. And so we start walking through evaluation. This does not have to be some formal, hey, okay, your attendance you're pretty good with. Let's see, and really treat it like a supervisor I think these are great opportunities for us to really become equippers as ministers, to really do an evaluation that coaches people to lead at a higher level. Many times in our churches, the paid staff, ministers and support staff, as well as volunteers, usually do not get evaluation until they're past the point of no return. It's already to a point we don't want them serving any longer as a volunteer. They have some issues, and it would just be better to not have them. Or it's a paid staff member, and we just think it's time for them to move on to another place. And I hope that in your ministry, you will learn to do evaluation and orientation in such a way that you're able to coach people and walk the journey with people to help them achieve at a higher level through ministry leadership what we're trying to do each and every week as a body of believers in the congregation God has called us to lead. And then I would hope if you find someone in that evaluation process that is not living up to the standards that you set as a church, that you would learn to do and exercise positive discipline. Discipline that restores our brother or sister to the place of ministry that we would like them to be, to help them deal with the issues in their life for holistic discipleship and spiritual formation. And we're helping them come alongside to such a place that it's positive for them, it's positive for the church, and the kingdom is continuing to be advanced. We don't have huge conflict that boils over out of this, but we're able to continually be in connection with our people and helping and coaching in such a way that we can exercise positive discipline. And so I just hope that as we close out the unit of dealing with these issues, that as we look at how we really select these people, enlist them and orientate them to the ministry we're asking them to be a part of the leadership, that you just walk through these things, especially your hiring process, your ministerial code of ethics, how you interview and select them, how you get them orientated to your ministry, how you help them be evaluated to know that they're doing well and how they could even improve. And then if there's areas of concern, then you're able to exercise positive discipline as we see modeled in Jesus' ministry as he encourages us to do in Matthew 18 by first going to a brother one-on-one. And so I hope that you're exercising positive discipline and that things are going well in your ministry. So praying for you, here for you. I know these are deep issues. They're complex issues to really think through. Sometimes you don't even know at the church you're serving. You're going to have to go back and look at the guiding documents to see if there's policies, to see if there's protocols for how you do some of these things. Sometimes you're going to have to rewrite the history a little bit and work through committees and leadership organizations to develop some of these things. You can't do it all in 1 year if there's nothing already in place. It's going to take a while to change that culture. And so I would just encourage you to start thinking of what needs to happen first and just really walk through leading your ministry to a higher level. And so don't tackle all these in one church year, but build upon it. And it's going to take a few years then to get it all established to where you're truly walking through all the areas we're talking about with the interview and selection all the way to discipline being exercised when needed. And so I just encourage you to work through that and what it looks like in your church. If you need anything, just let me know. Don't forget to be keeping up with your assignments and your reading. It is easy in an online class to get behind. So hang in there, keep the pedal to the metal, and don't get behind as we finish well this semester.